Hello and welcome to another video, and welcome to Lisbon in Portugal. I'm at Lisbon Airport, and today I'm going to be showing you what I think qualifies as possibly the worst business class product in Europe. Let's go and check it out.
They say get you a man who can do both, and hot on the heels of reviewing Europe's best business class flight, today I'm having a change of scenery and reviewing the worst.
You just never get any peace in an airport these days. I tell you what, the air conditioning is better in here than it was in the entire terminal.
Alright, you know the score about flying business class within Europe. If you fly within Europe on a narrow-body jet like this, you probably won't see one of these wonderful business class seats. No, within Europe, business class is generally a blocked middle seat, and sometimes not even that. But you will be lucky enough to get some extra legroom on most flights, and perhaps entry to a wonderful lounge. Sometimes these include great facilities, even a shower room, as I found with KLM. On board, you'll probably be treated to some lovely food and drink, and to be honest, it's not a bad way to fly. Today's video is starting in Lisbon, Portugal. We'll be flying with the national airline, TAP Air Portugal, and we'll be flying out of Lisbon's Humberto Delgado Airport, which is their main hub for intercontinental and European flights. TAP uses A320 series family aircraft on its European flights, saving its wide-body aircraft for flights to the US, Africa, and South America. Domestically and within Europe, you might find yourself on an ATR turboprop aircraft. Business class isn't sold on these planes, but the real pig of the fleet is this, the Embraer 190 series aircraft. TAP does sell business class on this aircraft, and you will want to avoid it. Stay tuned to find out why. One of TAP's big problems is that its hub airport at Lisbon is just not very good. The Schengen area of the airport is a confusing mess. Now, if you've used the non-Schengen gates, especially if you've flown long haul, these are situated towards the west end of the airport, and to be honest, it's quite nice there. But we're in this hodgepodge of a terminal. This is the Schengen area, and it's just a confusing mess of intersecting buildings. It's really not a great airport. There are loads of weird passageways like this, lots of low ceilings and confusing direction, and to be honest, it's just a real blast from the past. It's not a great airport to find your way around. TAP Portugal does have a lounge here though, and you'll find it at the intersection between the Schengen and non-Schengen areas of the airport, here in this actually rather pleasant atrium area. The lounge is right at the top of the escalator, as you can see here.
Let's go and check if the business class lounge is open. Hopefully it is. I couldn't find anything on the website about it. Looks promising, looks promising. Anyway, here we are, the TAP Portugal Premium Lounge. Handles all of their Star Alliance Gold customers, and also everyone that flies in business class with them, with these qualifying airlines. Perfect, thanks a lot.
TAP Portugal is a full-service carrier and a member of the Star Alliance, so for this to be its main hub lounge, it's just a bit disappointing. And hang on a minute, are those apples in packaging? What on earth? I think you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find a hub airport of a major European carrier that has a lounge as small and as poorly appointed as this. I mean, the food options were okay, it's just that this lounge was pretty cramped, there's no atmosphere, and it was really busy for the whole time that I was in the lounge. Still, look on the bright side. A busy lounge means that passenger loadings are at a healthy level, and after more than 18 months of various lockdowns and COVID decrees, that can only really be a good thing for the airline industry. Yeah, the gate areas at Lisbon Airport are really not well designed at all. This queue is encroaching on everybody else trying to get past and get to the other gates, and what's worse, the queue eventually snakes all the way around to gate 15A, as you can see here. These two people are actually not on my flight. They think they're on priority boarding for the Vueling flight that everybody else is queuing for. It's just a really confusing design, and eventually they were sorted out. A large number of departures from Lisbon actually take place from remote stands and require the use of a bus. The airport is just too small to cope with the number of flights it has. Although, using the bus, we do get to have a look at a plane which was afforded the luxury of a jet bridge. Oh, and by the way, if you do get on an airport bus, please don't do what this guy does. The seats are there for people who really need them. So off we go on our journey across the airport tarmac, past the military area, and even past some of the cargo hard stands on this extremely cramped bus. I'm pleased to say that TAP did organise priority boarding, but the downside is, of course, if you priority board and be first on the bus, you'll be last off. Oh dear.
Oh my god, chaos! Of course, I was at completely the wrong end of the bus. And here we are.
Well, welcome on board this Embraer 190 operated by Portugalia on behalf of TAP Portugal for this flight across to Madrid today. As you can see, it has all the aesthetics of a city bus and the crowd to match. Just like the city bus, there is no blocked middle seat. On aircraft like this with a 2-2 configuration in Europe, most airlines, but not all, will block the aisle seat so that you still have plenty of room. Those that don't tend to compensate for the experience by having really good lounges at their hubs or really great catering on board. We're about to find out whether that's the case with TAP. It is at least a pleasant evening to fly, and will be taking 57 minutes to travel the 318 miles between Lisbon and Madrid on today's flight. As we approach cruising altitude, it's time to check out the seat. And because this is basically just an economy seat, there isn't an awful lot to check out, but what there is to check out is kind of annoying. The tray table folds down and is pretty sturdy, but it doesn't move towards you, and that's super annoying because these seats have 2 inches extra legroom, but don't have an extra 2 inches on the tray table, and that means that when your food comes, it's further away from you than you'd like. The bulkhead seats on the left-hand side of the aircraft don't suffer from this because there are no flip-down tables. They'll come out of the armrest, and they do benefit from a massive amount of legroom. Anyways, on to the food, which was a complete disappointment. Now, it's unreasonable to expect a 3-course magical meal on a 55-minute flight, but to be honest, a stale egg sandwich and some almost inedible fruit are really not what I was expecting on this route. This is what KLM serve on a 50-minute flight between Teesside and Amsterdam, and this is what British Airways served me on a 25-minute flight between Belfast and Glasgow. In both those cases, I was on an aircraft where there was no blocked middle seat, and the airline is basically compensating for that lack of value by making up for it with a really good meal experience. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about TAP's food service. There is at least, however, a hot towel service with the meal. As George Harrison would say, all things must pass, and that includes all of the great things and some of the mediocre things. Thankfully, after less than an hour, we're descending into Madrid airport, where my journey ends for the day. So yeah, I really do think this is probably the worst business class experience you can find in Europe, particularly from an airline's main hub airport. With no blocked middle seat, poor catering, a very weak lounge, bus gates, a really horrible airport to transit, this is just not a good experience. Now, you may think I got caught out, but of course I was on this aircraft on purpose. You see, I actually needed to go from London to Madrid, and I transited in Lisbon. Now, if you get a one-way ticket in business class from London to Lisbon, TAP will want to charge you the princely sum of £354 for that one-way ticket. And why did I want to fly TAP? Well, of course, there was an unusual aircraft on the route, the A321neo LR, which has this wonderful long-haul configuration. Now, magically, you can fly on the same aircraft, but if you're travelling onwards to Madrid, you'll only pay just over £200. And that's because airlines don't charge you what it costs to transport you, they charge you what you think you're going to pay. And of course, an indirect itinerary is often less convenient than a direct one. Now, there might be a few of you thinking that that's a lot of moaning for a 55-minute flight, and yes, maybe it is, but bear in mind the Embraer 190 and 195s don't just fly to Madrid, they can also be found as far afield as Munich and Berlin, which are some 3 hours flying time from Lisbon. And you don't want to be stuck on the pig of the fleet for that long, so forewarned is forearmed. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I hope I'll see you again in the next one. I'm very excited to say that in the coming weeks, you'll be seeing a lot more long-haul flying from me as I head towards Mexico and the United States. Bye for now, and thanks again.